Yeah, already he just finally decided either it's somebody that we know that's being funny, or he just decided that he adopted the moniker and was like, I'll be that. I'll be the FBI guy. Now I can just hang out. They greet me anyways. Somebody decided to do that.
He's
That is
come clean. Yeah, he wants to live a life. No, he's like Kevin Spacey. When all of a sudden Kevin Spacey he decided to live his life as a gay man. The
yeah.
FBI guy in the chat, he was like, I've decided to live my life as an FBI guy in the chat. And now he is. He's now the FBI guy in the chat. Welcome to the chat, officially FBI guy in the chat. So
That's great.
and whoever you are, if you are one of the regulars, I suspect. I mean, we don't see J Dubs in the chat already, so who knows? It could be, and that seems like a J Dubs thing to
Yeah.
do. So yeah, if you know what did you do this week, V? I know you've been dying to talk about Venom, Venom 2, Let There Be
Oh,
Carnage. You were a
dude,
fan of
come on.
that?
Oh, come on. That movie was fucking so terrible. Okay, this is what happened. I did a double feature. I went to the movies the other day, and I was like so pumped for Many Saints in New York because I like loved The Sopranos. It was like such a great show. Are you drinking a White Russian?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it looked like a
I'm
White
not.
Russian.
No, I'm drinking it's actually apple pie moonshine. But
Oh,
it's a lot of ice because I
look,
can't
that's
just
what.
drink. I could drink moonshine straight. I don't like it. I don't like to do it. I'll do it to impress chicks or whatever, but
Yeah,
I won't do
yeah,
it just for enjoyment.
sure,
So
sure.
I have to put a lot of ice into my glass so that I can just pour the moonshine over it, and it'd be
Right. Yeah.
delicious.
You're not one of the Dukes of Hazzard or anything, is what
Oh
you're saying.
no, no heavens no,
So,
unless Daisy Duke is watching.
well, she put on a lot of weight, so she got really big. They did a reunion of the Dukes of Hazzard, and she's like blew up. She looked gross. It was like sad.
Are you
Everybody
talking
was
about Jessica Simpson?
no, not no, dude.
Not
The
the
lady,
fake Dukes of
the
Hazzard?
original Daisy Duke, not Jessica. That one isn't even canon. That's not
It is canon. It does count. As a matter of fact, the guy who
yeah.
played Roscoe,
It
he
was
came out and said that it was in fact included in the the Dukes of Hazzard
no.
legacy. Yeah, it's like these are the descendants of the original Boo
Uh-huh.
and Luke Duke.
All
Yeah,
right.
Johnny Knoxville and Sean
Sean.
William Scott are the descendants of the
I actually
original
never
Luke
seen it.
Duke and
I
Bo.
can't talk shit about it. I was a fan of the Dukes of Hazzard, but I never saw that one. I heard it was garbage, and that was enough for me. So speaking of movies, so I went to see the Many Saints in New York, and then I was going to see Venom right after Venom 2, right, the sequel. Let There Be Harder or Let Harder Carnage.
Let Tom be Hardy.
Yeah, Let Tom Be Hardy. Yeah, which should have been the title of the movie. It should have been Let Tom Be Hardy because Many States in New York, great movie because it was like a good prequel. I kind of was like, well, they should have showed a little bit more about the Tony Soprano character, but it was a good movie. I mean, it was like watching an episode of The Sopranos, only that took place in the 70s. So that's all I'll say about that. Definitely watch it if you're a Sopranos fan. You'll like it. You'll, especially if you're a Sopranos fan, watch that movie just because it's crazy to see all the younger versions of the characters. And like the coolest thing is like if you have like a specific character that was like your favorite, like I really like Sal, and like they didn't reveal him until the end, and that was when I was like, oh shit, that's Sal, and it was like the coolest thing, right? And then so I went to see Venom, right? I went right after to watch Venom, and like the whole movie was like it was dumb. Like okay, for lack of a better word, it was fucking dumb. Like there's no character arc. Their plot is just all over the place. There was this scene where fucking Venom is at this like gay pride concert, and he gets up on stage and talks about how he wants to come out and like he's one
That
of you.
that
And I'm
cannot be
like,
real.
it was for real happened. It really happened in the movie. I'm not even joking. And there's all these gay people and like it was like all, like a rave or whatever. And so like that gay scene that Andy Serkis alluded to was actually in there. It was like basically saying that he's like a part of the LGBT P community. And so then you have that, right, which is like the worst part of it, right? That was like already I'm going, ugh, like shaking my head in disgust, right? Like this is come on, like totally unnecessary, like the movie stops for that scene, right? Like you've got this momentum in the movie and then just stops so that Venom can come out of the closet, right? Venom, not Tom Hardy Venom, Venom. And then fucking all of a sudden there's all this crap with Carnage and fucking Woody Harrelson and some chick Shriek who has no character arc either. And then they get together and then there's a fight at the end. And at the end, like I drink a lot of water because, I do my intermittent fasting. I don't know if I've told you about this, but I do intermittent fasting.
I feel like you may have said something in passing.
I told you about it before. So I drink a lot of water, and by like towards the end of the movie, I had to go pee real bad. And I was like, okay, either I hold it to watch the end of this fucking garbage movie, or I just walk out and go to the bathroom now, miss like the rest of it, right? And then go like, what the fuck? Like, what's happening now and why? And so at that point I was like, you know what, dude? I'm going to go to the bathroom and I'm just going to leave, dude. And that's what I did. I like got and I did one of those moves. I did one of those things because I sat like in the second row, like not like a few rows back in the center. Like I sat like right in the front because I don't like people sitting next to it, which it gets worse. Like it gets worse. I totally forgot about this part. I sat in the front row so that there was nobody in that row, right? Like you go to the theater and there's this big thing where you can select your seat. And I go, oh, okay, yeah. This one, there's nobody in this row. So if I sit right in the center, I've got a good view. I don't have to worry about anybody sitting next to me. So I go in, I sit down. 5 minutes later, these two gigantic fat dudes walk by and like literally sit on both sides of me. And there's nobody else in the row, dude. Like what the fuck? Like, did you guys pick these seats on purpose? Like, what the fuck? Like, and they're huge, right? And they've got, like, the theater I go to, they have these trays where you can, like, pull them towards so you can eat, like, a meal, right? And then they have, like, food. They have, like, a kitchen at this. I go to a fancy movie theater. So both of these fat guys have, like, a burger and a massive drink and nachos and then, like, chips. And they're all just, like, I don't know if you've ever seen a fat person eat, but it's like, right? Like you hear the snarls and like it's gross.
Yeah, I can't get in them fast enough.
It's disgusting. It's the most like offensive thing to watch a fat person eat because not only are you disgusted by like the act of how they eat their food, but you're kind of off put by like their obesity and like, well, for me, personally speaking, right? I look at them and I go, my God, like, look at you. Like, look at you. You know what I mean? Like, look at you. And, like, so I'm sitting there in between these two fat guys and they're fucking just going at it. And I finally realized about halfway through the movie that nobody's coming. So in the middle of the movie, I stand up, right, block the screen, and walk all the way to the other side of the row so I'm nowhere near these guys, like, abruptly so that, like, they can see, like, I don't want to sit next to you fat pieces of shit. And so in the middle, like at the end of the movie when I finally have to go pee, I did the same number again. I stood up, I like stood there for a second and stretched and then like walked it all the way across because the exit was on the other side. So I had to walk across this whole aisle in front of the movie screen to just leave. So if there was anybody in there watching going, oh, isn't this movie great? They like watched me literally just leave at the end. And either they were going, well, that dude's obviously got to go to the bathroom, or he hated it so much he just fucking left.
So and how much was left of the movie, do you reckon?
Well, it was the Carnage and Venom fight at the end. When I left, Carnage and Venom were fighting. So when I looked at my watch, it was maybe like another 15 minutes left. Oh. So I pretty much like I couldn't even stay for that. I was like, there's no way. If I go pee now and I come back, the fight's going to be over and they're going to be all, oh, you won and blah, blah, blah. And, like, I know that's what's going to happen at that point, right? You go, well, he's not going to lose to Venom. Or Carnage. That's not how it works, right? And so I was just like, fuck it, dude. He's going to win. So I don't even care how he won. I know he did, and that was enough for me. But, yeah, don't waste your fucking money.
Do you think there are people in the theater who saw you leaving after Venom came out of the closet and said, hey, this is a guy who got what he needed out of this movie, and he left now knowing that Venom is a homosexual?
Yeah,
do you think that there are some people that probably believe that about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to take that if that was, I don't know. What about you? What did you do this week besides be a gaylord?
That was pretty much it. That about sums it up, actually. I've been watching a lot of. I've been watching a lot of this. We talked to some degree about To Catch a Predator and how I like to watch that, and some other people recommended some dads against people who poke kids or whatever. I don't remember what the title was. I assume that's what it was. I think it was actually Megabit who told me about it. But I stumbled upon one called Colorado Ped Poachers, and well, it's Ped Poachers or Ped Patrol, depending on when you start watching or whatever. And it's relatively new. Like within the last year, this dude's kind of come out and started doing these investigations, and or doing these. They're not really investigations. They're like he lures a pedophile, and then
sting operation, right?
Yeah. There you go. He runs around and does all this, and it's fun to watch. And what he does is, because he's not affiliated with police, he's not a reporter or whatever like Chris Hansen is. He's kind of like afforded this ability to do the encounter as he sees fit. And there are a lot of, you can, as I found out over the last couple of weeks, there are a lot of different people who do this sort of thing. And some of them will, at great lengths, they will go to great lengths rather to embarrass the pedophile, which I'm like indifferent to. I think that shows a lack of professionalism, and it could definitely hurt your case. I think if you, whatever case you're trying to make, I think it probably hurt that case. But there are some that I really just don't like for that reason, just because of how unprofessional they are. And then, but this dude, his name's Tommy. He does a pretty good job of keeping it professional. I mean, he swears and he calls them out, and he'll insult them sometimes when he gets real worked up and real angry at them. And depending on how if they lie and shit, then he reacts accordingly, and like you would expect. But he doesn't ever, fight them, or he doesn't ever, berate them to the point that to the way that some do, which I don't necessarily agree with. Anyways, he does this thing where he forces them to take accountability for their actions, because he says, hey, I'm not a cop, I can't hold you here, I can't arrest you, I'm not going to hurt you, I just need you to take accountability because, hey, this is what you said. And he goes like line by line what they said in the chat logs, like the really nasty, gross, embarrassing stuff. And he'll pull them to the side, so it's not necessarily in the middle of public square where everyone can hear it. He'll say, we'll go wherever you want to go so that we can talk about this, because I want to get you help, whatever. And then he says I just want you to take accountability, so let's call somebody, because I can leave you right now and you can say that you're cured or whatever, but you might go out tomorrow and do it. You may not go and get help. You may tell me that you're going to get help, but you may not actually go and do it. So I need you to take some accountability. Who's somebody that who's a family member? If they're a married guy, he says, call your wife, let's talk to your wife, or let's talk to your mother, or whatever. He'll have somebody close to that person. They have to reach out and tell that person, hey, this is what I did, I got caught, he's not a cop, he's letting me off the hook, but I need to get into counseling, I need to do this, and and then they'll say, yeah, of course I'll help you, whatever, and they go through this sweet little thing where they're like, we'll work through this together, we'll figure it out. And then the dude's like, all right, cool, well, I appreciate it, Tommy. And then all of a sudden Tommy, unbeknownst to the Predator, has had one of his crew call the police anyways. And he said, so like from the beginning, he's like, I won't call the police if you call your wife, or if you're willing to talk to me, I won't call the police. At some point, he had one of his crew call the police. Police show up. And sometimes it's the people watching, because he streams these events live, mostly for his own protection, for the protection of the Predator or whatever, and for likes and shit, to make a little bit of money from ad revenue and shit. But the cops will show up, and then he'll immediately present the cops with the evidence that he has. He has it all printed out, so he can just basically like hand whatever over to the cops. And he says, I'll email you all the videos and all the chat logs and all this and that and the other. Then I'll write up a statement, has his crew, the decoy, write up a statement, all this stuff. And the dudes usually go to jail. So
nice.
It's actually a really good program. And so I'll sing its praises. And I'll do a little commercial for Colorado Ped Poachers or Colorado Ped Patrol.
Nice.
I think he's confused as to what the name of the show is or what the name of the group is. But are you texting over there? Is that what I hear?
Me? No, my phone's sitting over there, man. Why would I be texting while you're talking? I mean, I'll admit openly to you that like through most of that, I was kind of trailing off, but I got the gist of it. You know, you watch some pedo show, I guess.
No, so here's what happened. I was trying to figure it out. I must have said the name of the show and loudly enough that my phone thought I was asking to turn that on. So all of a sudden my phone starts playing a video from that guy and I start hearing him talk, and it's because it's my hearing aids, our Bluetooth.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm hearing all of a sudden. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What is going on?
That's your cyborg hearing that activated. You got to be careful, man. You're going to end up with Skynet in your brain. You know. So hey, why don't you address everyone in the chat and do your shot, and then we'll get into the thing that I have planned.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I forgot that you have this some kind of thing.
I do.
So we don't have a whole lot of chatters in the chat today.
Yeah.
We have Thundercock Jackson, Jay Coop, Mike in Manitoba, FBI Guy, Megabit Banshee, and I Lack Tact, all in the chat right now. Welcome to the show, and everybody who's not talking. I assume the super fan is listening. He just doesn't ever talk because he's better than we are. Which you think you're better than us?
Yeah, you think you're better? Yeah.
But to the pedophiles that get away, or I mean,
yeah.
no.
To catching the pedophile.
Yeah, that's the one.
I like chimo. I like the term chimos.
All right,
to catching chimo.
To catching chimos.
Ostrovia.
I had a joke that I wanted to do at some point. This is a do-it-yourself joke then. And as far as people who watch those programs, because I watch them a lot, they say, well, why do you watch those shows? Oh, I just like to, I like to watch all those predators and, see what kind of antics they get into. I like to see the ones that get away with it, And then the guys are like, you mean the ones that get caught? And he's like, yeah, what? You got to have like the guy who confuses his reason for watching the To Catch a Predator's shows is actually because he sides with the predator,
right?
And then the other one corrects him. So it's a do-it-yourself joke. Do something with that for those of you who are into doing it yourself jokes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, V. Go ahead. What do you got for me?
I noticed that Thundercock was real quick. I noticed that Thundercock Jackson, our much loved Thundercock, was asking if we had a Patreon. We don't have a Patreon, do we? I'm assuming.
No.
Do you know how to do that?
Free. All our shit is free.
We have a Redbubble. You can buy our clothes. That's a cool thing, right?
Yeah, we don't like to.
But
we don't like to fund or like require money for our content. But if you do support the show, buying a T-shirt or stickers or whatever, it goes a long way. So I don't ever want to get to that point where we require. That's why I go through and I cut out anything that would cause ads to come out in front of YouTube videos, and I don't add commercials in the anchor, the podcast stuff. I don't like to do that because we don't want to charge you for our content. We would rather charge you for our merchandise. So if that's what you want to, if you want to contribute to the show in any way, that's where to do it.
Okay, yeah. So apparently we're not planning on making money off of this ever, which I would like to at some point, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe one day someone will notice us and be like, "Hey, these guys are pretty funny," but probably not.
The trick is once we get to episode 100, that's when all of a sudden we're going to start forcing everything is going to be microtransactions. Oh, you want to watch the rest of the episode? Oh, you want to hear Tom swearing? You're going to have to pay for the Tom swearing app, and then that'll include the swear. Everything else will be edited out with sounds of like women moaning loudly or gay sex noises. So in order to cancel that out, you have to buy the app. So that's what we're going to do with episode 100. I want you to look forward to that. Go ahead, V. What do you got?
Okay, so I had this thing I was thinking about this week, and it occurred to me that you're always bragging to me about how smart you are. So you know how you're always bragging to me.
Always, as a matter of fact.
It occurred to me that so that I wanted to test your intelligence. So I came up with some trivia questions for you, and I want to see how on the spot you are with answering some trivia. How do you feel about that? Are you good? Do you think you can handle it?
Do you need me to put the screen on my face while I'm answering questions?
Yeah, do that.
Okay.
Yeah, put it on your face, and I'll ask the questions so that you can hear them and we can see your reaction to them.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah, it'll be like on, what was that show, the dating game, where they have like on the other side of the wall, so I can't see what's going on the other side, as if I'm like not the one who's in charge of changing the screen and manipulating it.
Yeah,
shit.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so you ready? This is a gauntlet of questions, and they go about easy to hard. So we're going to start with the first one.
Okay.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What has Samuel L. Jackson had it with?
These motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane.
Okay, all right, you got that one. That was an easy one.
Are these movie trivia?
No, well, it's there's a few movies, but mainly it's like various. Okay. The second one comes from a movie too. I shouldn't have given away, but do you know what the word nemesis means?
A nemesis. No, I don't remember the line. I don't remember it all. A variable cunt is how it ends, or he basically alludes to himself. Bricktop is a nemesis.
Yeah, that's right. It's a righteous infliction of retribution manifested by an appropriate agent, personified by a horrible cunt.
Horrible cunt.
Yeah, me. Right. Okay. Third, you didn't get that one, so you lose. All right. You fail. The third question, you just lose points. The third question is, who is Banksy?
Banksy, isn't that that's an artist?
Yeah, but who is he?
He's an artist who does art. Like he does. As I recall, I confused him. I thought he was a musician for a long time until somebody corrected me and told me that he was actually an artist, very famous artist.
Yeah, I know that one was a trick question because it's anonymous. Nobody actually knows who Banksy is.
Oh, okay.
It's just a guy, I guess. Okay, here's the fourth one. I'll give you that one because you knew he was an artist.
Appreciate it.
This is the fourth one. This is another obscure knowledge that you may have. What is an Alabama sunroof?
An Alabama sunroof is when somebody leaves their sunroof open and you get down on your haunches over it and you take a shit through it. Like preferably on a hot day.
That's correct. You got that one. That's good. All right, I'm good. You got a couple here. You got we'll say 3 out of 4 so far. Okay, next one. What is the name of H.P. Lovecraft's dog?
His dog or his cat?
His cat. Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's Noid Cat.
No, that's not what.
That's Noid Cat. Yeah.
That's not what it is. You are incorrect.
All right. Well, I'm gonna say it if I'm gonna lose a point.
Well, you're quoting an actual name.
Okay, so I'm gonna say I wasn't gonna say it if I would get the point, but if I'm only gonna get the point if I say it, his cat's name.
Yeah, you're wrong. That's not the name. It wasn't Noid.
His cat. Well, Noid Cat was the name, but if I'm gonna lose a point, his cat's name was Nigger Cat. Putting myself down as a 1.
You got it. You knew the answer. Okay, you got that one. Okay, here's the next one. They're gonna start getting harder now. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Yep.
Okay, all right. Who put the bomb in the bomb, the bomb, a bomb? Who put the ram in the ram-a-lam-a ding dong?
Yeah.
Bop, shubop, shubop. Who put the dip in the dip, the dip, the dip,
the dip?
Who is that man?
Who is that man? Yeah. I'd like to shake his hand. I don't know who sings it. It's not the Beach Boys. It's from that era. It's a 50s '60s song.
Man.
The bomb shabob shabab poop with the ram and the ram ding dong. I know the song. I like it.
You know the song, so that's good enough for me. It was Barry Mann was the name of the singer.
Oh, okay.
Barry
What
Mann.
year was it? Do you know? Was I right?
It's not important. Okay, last one. We'll call this this. If you get the answer to this one correct, then I'll say that you're smarter than me. I'll admit that you're smarter than me.
I don't want that
since
title.
You're bragging about how smarter you are than me. Are you ready? This is not going to be an easy one.
I'm prepared.
Okay, here it is. When traveling at subsonic speed during the last hour of hypersleep, which vector of the Romulan nebula will suffer the wrath of the impenetrable quickening? And how many wraths to the nearest molton? Be specific. This is a real question.
The Backstreet Boys.
Oh, man, I didn't think you were going to get that one.
No, we like the same show. It's from a show that we both like, that we've both enjoyed for years.
Oh, I really tried to stump you with the last one. I was like, he hasn't watched that episode in a long time. He won't get it.
I know this one. Or no, I know this one. It's the Backstreet Boys.
And at the end, and it's Seth MacFarlane is the voice of the Wayne, the main brain, and he goes, the Backstreet Boys. Is the answer to the question. That's kind of I guess an inside joke for those of you who haven't watched Aqua Teen Hunger Force. That was a reference to an Aqua Teen episode, the trivia episode called Super Trivia in season 2.
Yeah, if you haven't watched Aqua Teens, you should. You absolutely should. It's a good show.
Yeah. That's kind of our humor is very derivative of that, huh? Wouldn't you say?
I would agree.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to agree with you there. Did is this was the whole thing? You had me sweating all week trying to figure out, because you were like, I got this really good idea that I think you're gonna like. I can't tell you about it though, so good luck. But then in return, in response to this shrouded in secrecy duologue. You had another thing that you wanted to do, right? You had another thing that you wanted to rant about?
Yeah, well, I wanted to, if we have time before the show, if we have a little bit.
We've got plenty of time. Please, go ahead. Please, this topic today is it's something I think we can. It's not like last week where it was going to take the full 2 hours. We've got all sorts of time today, and plus it doesn't even matter. The topic that we're covering today doesn't even matter. So if we don't get to it, who cares? Nobody will be at a loss.
So okay, I don't know if I told you this, but my sister, she passed the bar finally. So I have a lawyer in the family. My sister, she's working for the public defender's office in Monette, Missouri. She's like a lawyer now, like a legit lawyer. She's already been to court and everything. And so she's on LinkedIn, right? And I'm on LinkedIn, which I didn't even know she was on LinkedIn. And all of a sudden, like, we're connected somehow. I don't even remember adding her, which, not anything bad against my sister, I love my sister, but I didn't know I was connected to her. And I saw her profile, and it says her name, right? And then it says she, her, her pronouns. My sister, she's a filthy liberal. And so it just like shattered me, right? Like I saw this, and at first I was like, I shook my head in like disappointment. Like it seemed unprofessional. Like you're on LinkedIn, first of all, like who gives a shit what your pronouns are? And second of all, like what the fuck? Why do you need to say that you're not a transgender? Like when I see a human, like a person that identifies as what they are, right? Like I'm a man. I identify as a man. I was born a man. They call that cis male, right? Which just marginalizes us or whatever. But like, there's no reason to put he, him in my thing because I'm clearly a man. I look like a man. The image of my sister on LinkedIn, she's clearly a woman. There's no reason to like question that, and go, oh, she, her, this looks like a man, but apparently like that's my logic, right? And I don't know like the nuance of this pronoun bullshit, but that's what I think when I see these pronouns is I go, oh, you feel inclined to tell me that you're a she, her because I don't see you as that when I see your picture, right? And so when I see those things, I go, well, that kind of doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't register for me. And most of all, it just seems like if I was like this professional like businessman and I was looking to hire somebody, the first person that I see in the list of like names of people I'm looking to hire, if they've got pronouns next to their name, I'm already just going, this guy is like a child. Like, I don't give a shit what your pronouns are. I care about if you can do the job, right? Which I don't know. That's a thing now, I guess. And so I'm like going through LinkedIn and I'm noticing it more and more. Like people, he, her, him, her, or whatever. He, whatever. Mike Jackson, right? So it just kind of baffled me, and I don't really fully understand it. So I thought maybe if you have any info, you can clarify. And I also want to know, like, what are your thoughts about this? Like, is this something that we're going to have to deal with in life? Or is it just something that, like, and here's another, like, thought, right? Like, just something I mentioned to my dad today. I was like, you know what? The first thing I think of when I see someone's pronouns in their, like, profile, I go, oh, this person's a liberal. That's the first thing. And so instinctively, that's like saying, here's my political agenda right away. Like the first thing you see is my name and my political agenda, right? Like no conservative is going to put a fucking pronoun in their name. You know what I mean? Like how gay is that? You know?
You're right.
Literally.
And it's extremely gay, typically. And my argument, or it's not an argument, because I'm with you 110% on this whole pronoun debate. I think it's ridiculous. But what I will say is a lot of people aren't necessarily okay, so they're not gay, or they're not a tranny, or they're not whatever. They're not part of the traditional LGBTP community, but they have they've shoehorned themselves into it by adding the A, which is ally. So if the actual LGBTP IAA PIA plus question mark, like it's a lot of letters now, and I think it actually starts with a 2S now. I don't know what those stand for, but the A was included in this letter, this RSTLNE, the Batman symbol, QRZ, and another Q, another Q. They shoehorned the letter A into it because they wanted to be a part of it, the ally. Most of us don't want anything to do with the LGBT community because who cares? Like, that's just a community that we don't need to belong to. Like, most people will go their whole life without ever even considering joining the Rotary Club, right? Most people won't even know what it is, nor will they care. But they'll never say, hey, I'm part of an auxiliary group to the Rotary Club of people who don't necessarily want to be in the Rotary Club, but support what the Rotary Club does. So that's what the A for ally in LGBTQIAAPIRS2S or whatever, what that stands for.
And the Batman symbol.
These allies want to show their allegiance to this LGBTQIAP exclamation point question mark poop emoji. They want to show their support, so they put their pronouns in, even though your sister there's no doubt in anyone's mind that she is a female. She's not one of these trannies who looks like a man, has stubble, and wears a wig and lipstick, and then has to tell people, oh, no, it's she, her. Like, there are people who are inclined to add he, him, or they, them, if they want to just be generic about it, like, hey, let's not even bring pronouns into this. I want to show my solidarity to the non-binary people, or whatever, or non-binary people themselves. They want to be they, them, just to alleviate any confusion. So a lot of it has to do with just the allies, the people who want to show that they support this community. But like you said, I don't know any conservatives who go out of their way to support the LGBT community. We'll either be adamantly against it, like loudly and vocally, or we'll just ignore it. Or even just like, if confronted about it, we'll say our piece and say, hey, it's not something I'm interested in. I don't really care. You guys can go fuck off. Or even the libertarians who are like,
doesn't that make, like, okay, that's what brings up the question here, right? Like, this is what I was talking to my dad about today. I said, you see a picture of a guy, or you come into contact with a guy that claims he's a woman and says that his pronouns are she, her, or whatever. But he's clearly a man, right? Like, clearly a man, right? That just wants to, like, bang dudes dressed up as a woman or something, right? But by not calling him he or she, her, that makes you a bigot, right?
Right.
And so So if you're a bigot, there's like laws and stuff that like, you know, enable these guys to let that happen. And you can get in trouble for it now, like especially in, wiggity whack California where I live is like shit like that. Like I come across a person and they look like fucking Dog the Bounty Hunter with a wig on or something.
With another wig on.
Yeah, with another wig on, a second much larger blonde wig. You're going, what the fuck? Like, what is like what, dude? Like, and then next thing you know, you're in trouble because you refuse to call them a she, her. Like what? Losing jobs. People lose jobs over this kind of stuff because of the like smallest semantic of some like mentally, what do you call it? They ain't right, dog.
Yeah, there's something wrong with them.
They ain't right, dog. That shit to me, and I'm trying to like grasp it. Like that's the thing here, is I'm trying to go like, well, how does that like fucking equate? Like, how is that important? First of all, like, does it matter? Like, okay, here's another example. I have this friend, and her daughter is a lesbian, or she's bi, or I think she's bi, or whatever. And the other day, she goes, oh yeah, my pronouns are they, them. And I go, well, what the fuck does that mean? And she goes, well, that just means that's what I prefer to be referred as. And I said, well, can't I just call you dude like I call everybody else? And she was like, yeah, I'm okay with that. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what does it even matter then? Like, why even tell me? Like, and she's young, right? Like, she just turned 18. So she's like still in this like liberal high school mentality where she doesn't have like the education or information of an adult and like experience of an adult. She just has all this stuff that's been, indoctrinated into her from high school, right? All these liberal teachers going, you need to blah, 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 and be, gay or not be gay or be an ally or whatever. And so that's what her thought process is. And I'm going, you don't need to do that in the real world. Like, nobody gives a shit. Like most people don't give a shit. And that's why that community is so small, is because people go, well, if you're going to be a him or her, I don't care. You can be that, but don't make me have to call you that just because that's what you pretend or want to be, because that's what it comes down to, is like they're pretending to be what they aren't, and that to me, it makes them seem kind of like, I don't know, bizarre. I mean, we know already that they're weird as fuck. Anybody that thinks they're another gender that they aren't, like my dad always says, well, what it comes down to is the plumbing. The plumbing, I go, yeah, that's right. It's if you have the genitalia of a man, that to me, that means you're a man, right? But if you think you're a woman, that is got to be something wrong with your brain, or like, I don't know, man. What are your thoughts?
So a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of things I'd like to, that I've seen recently. A lot of people are very excited to put their pronouns on their resume, which again, who cares? I'll tell you this much. If I see a resume, I don't look at resumes anymore. I know you do, but there was a time that I used to have to look at them. If I would have seen one that included a gender, I would disqualify that one immediately, because that to me is trying to leverage gender.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, or even go like, what's the word? What is that? Diversity hire, right? Like diversity hire.
Right.
Like give you a reason to be able to like come back and go, well, you didn't hire me because I'm a she, her, and I'm a transgender, and so you're a bigot, right?
I would say, no, I didn't hire you because there were spelling errors in your resume, and my machine automatically picked it up saying that you were not qualified because you can't spell at a 12th grade level. But yeah. So to me, anytime I've ever heard anybody include their pronouns in something, I can already tell that I am going to hate that interaction with that person. I consider anybody who includes their pronouns on something that they present to me as just a hassle. I assume that they're going to be too high maintenance for me to appreciate the interaction.
I agree.
So, therefore, I just won't. So if I see somebody has pronouns listed, I just won't even approach that situation at all. Now, if I see somebody's name and it says Tom Miller, he, him, I'm going to assume that there's something wrong with that person. Right. Because or they think that I'm an idiot. Because I look at the name Tom Miller, I have never met a woman or
Yeah.
somebody who might identify as she, her, with the name Tom Miller.
Right. Right.
Likewise, there are names that now, if it says Pat, she, her, I might
Yeah.
be like, okay, yeah, I get it. Or what if it's like an androgynous or ambiguous type name or whatever? I might appreciate that. I might see the necessity to that. But if it's Tom Miller, or if it's Janet Michaels, or
Yeah.
or if it's Janet Johansson, I'm gonna assume Janet anything, Sarah, Rachel, Karen, whatever. I'm gonna assume it's a female. And if I'm wrong, yeah, there'll be egg on my face. Sure, if I'm like Karen and a man stands up, I'm gonna say, well, that was not what I expected. Okay, come on in, please, come on in, Karen. But I don't see the purpose in, especially if I'm just looking at a piece of paper, or if I'm looking at somebody's profile and I see a profile picture and it's somebody who looks like a woman and it says she, her. I'm going to say, okay, what's wrong with this person? Because she felt so inclined to include that sort of thing. And for me, pronouns, or I'm sorry, the transgender community, we could just not even address it at all. And I'll tell you how you do that: by being a better whatever gender you think you are. Okay? So if a man can't get laid and he decides suddenly, well, I'm actually a man born in a woman's body, so I therefore will live, I'm actually a woman, and from now on you will address me as she, her, put on a wig, put on some lipstick, and barely shave a little bit. Because there's a bunch of them out there. If you look at just transgenders, especially the very vocal transgenders, they're never like people that you're like, oh, that's a woman for sure.
Yeah.
She
No.
is a woman. It's never that. It's, oh, that's a guy. Like every single time. Now, if you really believe there are some men who cross dress very well. You can ask James about this.
Yes.
Who they will surprise you when all of a sudden they're like they come out with a deep voice and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. They're out there. Be like them if you want to be a transgender or a female. Dress more like a man. Not every here's the thing about women who want to be women to male transgenders is they think that every man is a lumberjack by trade, right?
Yeah.
They only dress in plaid shirts and overalls and then spike their hair and then dirty their face up. That's every single transgender female to male. Now, all the males, they forget to shave their face, right? They never watch like the makeup videos on how to properly put on makeup. They never, they dress like they're in the 1920s conservative Little Italy in New York, right? That's how they all dress. It's almost like people forget as soon as they decide that they are transgender. It's like they forget what the other gender looks like. And in modern times, they have this image, whatever image popped into their head at the time of their revelation that they are the other gender is what they go with. So it just so happens every male to female tranny just immediately thinks of Little Home on the Prairie or Little House on the Prairie. And that's how they envision all women. And then all women, they instinctively imagine the brawny toilet paper commercial with like a lumberjack with the axe. And that's all the only image that these transgenders have of the opposite gender. And it blows my mind that not a single, it's a small percentage, like you said, of the population that is affected by this crippling tranny outbreak. But it's an even smaller percentage, like a much smaller percentage of the population of people who actually commit to their transgenderism. The rest of them are just phonies because they couldn't get laid and they want to open up the doors to other people, right? And the thing about transgenderism is there's no test, right? And I feel like I may have brought this up at one point, but there's no test to determine whether or not you're gay or a lesbian or bisexual or a transgender or any number, or non-binary or gender fluid or gender sex queer, whatever. There's no test to determine you're any of these things that would put you into the LGBTP thing. So what they do is these are people. Look at anybody who falls under any of these categories, right? Especially the ones that don't require you to, for instance, transgenderism. Let's just stick with that. Let's stick with transgenderism. Look at any tranny and tell me that these transgenders that are coming out and saying, hey, I'm a pre-op, which means you haven't had any kind of surgery yet, right? You're not required to have any surgery in order to be considered transgender. Any of these people that are pre-op transgenders, they have never contributed anything to the world around them. And they want to be considered brave and heroic and unique and special and whatever. So they say, what's the one thing that can guarantee that I am applauded by the entire world, celebrities, politicians, the people around my family, my friends, whatever? What's the one, the academics, the teachers or whatever, everybody in the world right now, the television, fucking Cartoon Network, watching, you can't watch Steven Universe without seeing it. How can I be celebrated the way that, you know, actual war heroes, cancer survivors, people who, firefighters, you know, how can I be celebrated like these people? Or kids who overcame leukemia, or kids who overcame some kind of traumatic situation growing up, or orphan, becoming an orphan. How do I beat them at being unique? Without actually doing anything, mind you. I'll just tell everyone I'm actually a woman in a man's body, and people will fucking celebrate me. And what happens when they test you, Tom? Well, that's the thing. They can't. I'll just tell them. And then, you know, well, what if they want you to dress up as a woman? I don't have to. That's the beautiful thing. I'll put on a wig and some lipstick, and people will have to respect me. And they'll have to let me piss in the girls' room. And they'll have to let me, go get... there was a doctor that got in trouble recently for not doing a pap smear on a man. They'll have to do a pap smear on me. They'll have to wax my uterus because I am a transgender. So that's what really pisses me off about all this, is there is not a single... it went from being something that was unique and something that made somebody perhaps brave in the eyes of certain people to now the fake trend. Now I'm going out on a limb, or going out a little bit out there, because I think transgenderism in general is fake. I think it's all wrong. But you have these people who legitimately, because of their gender dysphoria, are so confused, and they really think that they're the opposite gender. It's not because they actually think that they're the actual other gender. It's just because they're retarded. And because they have this mental illness of gender dysphoria, which is what the DSM-5 says, an actual book on diagnosing mental disorders. Those people are being disenfranchised by the fakes, by the fakers, the people who just wanted to take advantage of that. And I'm not saying all this to attack your sister, because I think she's just legitimately an ally. She wants to share, like, hey, I'm here for you if you need me, because I know you're going through a tough... Because I'm not saying it's easy to be transgender in all cases. It's not easy to have mental illnesses that are undiagnosed or treated incorrectly, and then you end up slitting your fucking wrists at 40%. 40% of people with gender dysphoria commit suicide. So... your sister going out there and writing that on her profile or putting that on her resume, I'm not going to attack that, because I know there are people who legitimately are just there to support others. And I think that's the case there. Now, are there cases where somebody does it so that they can be unique and without ever having to contribute to anything other than putting on a wig and some makeup, and then getting into a LGBT chat room and or ask Reddit? For instance, we had somebody in the chat the other day. And I had it pulled up here, and then I closed it out. But they actually shared something from an Ask Reddit profile.
Was that the one about the guy that wanted to kill himself? The transgender?
I think, yeah, I mean, it was a transgender person. Okay, here we go. So it was in the subreddit Ask Transgender. The subject was, why do I feel like such a hypocrite? God, why? And then the body of the text was, and I hope that, I know that anybody who is watching right now is probably well aware of the situation going on with the in the transgender community and how absurd it is. But anybody who hasn't, who is listening now or who is watching now or in the future, I hope that you'll understand that this is like the norm of absurdity. This is the body of the text. As a trans lesbian woman pre-op, I definitely know how it hurts when someone tells me I'm not a real woman, especially when having sex. Mind you, this is somebody who has a penis, okay? I've had ladies go down on me and just telling me that they can't do it with me anymore because it's too male down there. Recently, I had my first sexual encounter with another trans lesbian, another male to female transgender pre-op.
Dude, fucking dude. Two dudes
so
bang.
Two guys who,
Yeah.
who think that they're trans lesbians. And I began having the same thoughts, especially when we were having intercourse. I kept thinking that I'm actually having sex with a man. I honestly feel like the biggest hypocrite in the world right now. And I just want to hide or go hurt myself again. I'm confused and just want to die. So you're right. They did apparently say something.
This is hilarious.
But my response to that was, and I quote, "I'm sorry, ma'am. As a lesbian, I'm having a difficult time sucking your dick." Right? So this is like the level of absurdity that we're seeing in these transgender communities where they're like, imagine a world, right, where I suddenly decide that I am, or I suddenly realize, because this is not something that you decide, this is something that you realize over years of reflection, because you were born a certain way and you're just now realizing it. I realize that I'm a woman, and I realize that maybe the reason why I'm having these homosexual thoughts is because I'm a woman trapped in a man's body. So I am going to go and have sex with a man as a woman because now it's not gay. But then once I do that, I realize, no, I wasn't into that. Maybe I'm a lesbian. It's not that I'm not gay, right? It's not that I'm a male that is not gay. It's that, well, maybe I'm actually a lesbian because clearly I'm actually a woman, but I don't like having sex with men. So I'm going to have sex with a woman, thereby making me a trans male, male to female, lesbian. And in the end, this same thing is happening in reverse to somebody else who is a female originally. And then we come to this realization that I am actually a straight female in a male's body, and my partner is a straight female or straight male in a female's body. We've just alternated genders, and this sort of clusterfuck buffoonery, mental gymnastic buffoonery, is commonplace in the T community, right? The LGBT, specifically P community. And it blows my mind. So I don't take the pronoun thing situation seriously. I know you asked me probably for a brief, like what are my thoughts on the thing, and I've given you like 30 minutes of me yelling about it. But my pronouns are actually the Black Summoning of Death / the Sempiternal Tragedy of Winter Funeral. Whenever anybody asks, that is my pronouns. And you have to refer to me as that, or you're a bigot. The Black Summoning of Death, the Sempiternal Tragedy of Winter Funeral is how you have to refer to me.
I identify as a Decepticon, so...
Oh, I know that. I know very well. You're a straight male Decepticon.
Yeah, that's right.
Transformer Autobot.
Well, that's interesting. I think absurd is the best way to put it, because I think that's what it came to. Is like I started to really kind of dwell on it, like how absurd is this? Like it's so dumb. It's like, and that's what my thoughts are. Like browsing fucking LinkedIn, going, oh, there's another he, her, he, him, her, she, he. Like my logic is this person is a retard, right? Like
Yeah.
there's something wrong with this person that they feel that it's necessary to tell me that. And like I have to analyze everything, right? Like that's how I am. I go, why does this person feel that way? Why does this person? And I think actually you made a good point about my sister being an ally, because that you're probably right. That's probably is what it is. But my logic is either that person is saying, hey, I'm straight up, this is me telling you I'm a liberal, or it's like just totally unnecessary. And there's like so much absurdity to it that I'm just going, what the fuck? Like I'm baffled, right? I'm sitting here going, why? Why do I even need to know this? Like this is information that is I'm never going to use. I'm never going to refer to you as she, her, or he, him, or whatever, because it's dumb. And the fact that my sister put she, her, I'm thinking, I already call you that anyways. Why the fuck do you need to tell me that? Right? Like you're obviously a she, her, so whatever. I don't care. You know, it's just unnecessary information that doesn't pertain to job application shit. So I don't know.
What I do.
Go ahead.
The whole, it goes along the lines of that whole vegan thing and the atheist thing. When people will outright, come out and they'll make it a point to let everybody in the room know that they're an atheist, or that they do CrossFit, or that they do, or that they're a vegan, right? Because it's this big accomplishment for them. Like for them, that's something that they take some great amount of pride in. It's what makes them unique. It's what makes them better than you in a room. And it reminds me a lot of that gluten-free thing too. Remember, this is the thing that I like to do when people say, well, gluten-free, blah, 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 blah. I'm on a gluten-free diet. And I'm like, well, why? And they're like, well, because it's, it's healthier. And then they've come to find that, like with most things, there's contradictory evidence that says, no, it's not necessarily healthier. It provides no added benefit. But they've still continued to market this gluten-free thing. And now when you ask, they're like, well, it's in case somebody's allergic, right? And that I get. I'm like, okay, I get that. But why are you telling me? Like, is the gluten allergy, this is a gluten allergy that nobody had until 2016, right? Or 7 or 15 or whatever. Like, it's a brand new thing, apparently, because now that's when you want to push this on everybody, where every single thing has to be, oh, it's gluten-free. Let me make sure I let you know that this is gluten-free. It says gluten-free in big fucking letters across the front of this milk carton, right? And every single thing that you buy, it's either gluten-free or it's not, and you have to look for that. Like, the Dolphin Safe on the tuna cans or whatever, you had to look for it.
Yeah.
Everything is gluten-free. I'm like, so if the whole idea is about allergies, like, why... when people would tell me, oh, this is gluten-free, I'd be walking through Costco, right? And they'd say, oh, good news. Here, try this cracker. It's gluten-free. I'm like, once I realized that, oh, they're only doing that because it's an allergy thing, because now it has nothing to do with a diet and how healthy, quote-unquote, a gluten-free thing is. Now it's an allergy thing. I'm like, well, is it bee sting free? And they're like, why would it be bee sting free? And I'm like, well, I'm allergic to bee stings, right? So, like, I need to know that this cracker is bee sting free, because the only reason you're telling me that it's gluten free is because it's an allergy thing, and not that many people are allergic to gluten. So, but there are more people who are allergic to bee stings.
Well, it's a selling point. That makes a good point. That makes a good point. What you brought up about the gluten thing, because, and this goes hand in hand with this transgender LGBTP, the Batman thing,
poop emoji,
poop emoji stuff. It's a selling point, right? Especially in Hollywood and like various other agencies, they use that as like, okay, you go on streaming media, and what's the first thing that comes up? Black voices, LGBT, whatever. It's a selling point now. And so, like with the gluten-free, even though we know that it doesn't matter anymore and it's an allergy thing, there are still numpties out there that are going, oh, gluten-free is healthy. And so when someone says, hey, this is gluten-free, they go, oh, well, then I'm going to get that because it's gluten-free. And so it's like a selling point. And like, that's another reason why it's so popular in media now, all this LGBT thing crap, is because it's a selling point, right? Like if you're a liberal and you support that and they go, hey, we're Black Lives Matter and we support blah, 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 blah. They go, oh, I'm going to give my money to them because they're the ones that are supporting whatever. And you may not even do that. You may not even give money to these agencies. You may just say that and then get money for it or whatever. And it's just one of those things that you go, how do I bank on this? And that's what all of these, like all of the businesses, right? Like, what's that joke? Amazon, it's like they go, oh, it's Pride Month, and all of a sudden it's just filled. Every single video that you see in Prime is like all these gay. Which, have you been on Prime lately? Literally every single movie that the Prime originals, they're all some weird like woke bullshit. It's like something about a drag queen, something about a girl that wants to, like the Cinderella movie where it's woke and she doesn't like want to be with this man. She wants to open her own fucking clothing store or what. They're all like that. And it's all like it's come to this point where like Venom 2, right? It's a selling point. And they've got this fucking broad, right? Like writing fucking Venom 2, right? Venom, a fucking comic that men like, not women. And they go, oh, let's make this comic fucking LGBT whatever, you know, and fucking it doesn't even like pertain. Like you got dudes like me going, oh, I've got a fucking scruffy beard and I like fucking, you know, fast women, and I'm going to see Venom because he's a fucking anti-hero. And then you get in there and you're like, what is this shit?
Yeah.
You know, like who are you fucking appealing to? Not me, clearly. That's where the source material appeals to, is my my demographic, right? Male 18, cis male, right?
Yeah.
Cis male 18 to 34. That's the demographic that it appeals to. But they go, fuck you. We're going to appeal to the LGBT community, Batman
Poop emoji.
community. Yeah, because they're the ones that are going to like shut us down now if we don't. They're going to go, oh, well, this didn't have any gay stuff in it, so now we got to fucking boycott it. Oh, they didn't represent us in this movie, and the blah, 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 whatever weren't represented, so now boycott. Get on the internet and get on fucking whatever, Facebook, and talk shit about it, which doesn't even matter anyways, because movies that are doing that now anyways are just fucking tanking. It's that age-old saying, right? The proverbial go get woke, go broke. Yeah. LGBT poop emoji.
You know what? And here's my recommendation to the movie industry. Okay.
Yeah.
Before we move on to our thing that we're talking about.
Oh. Okay.
I'm glad that we were able to like take up most of the episode with some ripping on shit that I like to rip on.
Yeah.
Because this episode I don't think will last the full 2 hours. Would have lasted the full 2 hours. Here's my recommendation to the Hollywood, to the movie industry, right? If you want to do some woke stuff, because like you said, we are the target demographic. We are the people who are going to go in droves to watch these movies. We are the ones who are going to buy the merch. We are because I buy the merch, right? I buy Star Wars shit this week. Oh, here, let me show you real quick because I want to brag about it. My oldest and I built the new Slave One that came out. The new Boba Fett Slave One. Now, here's the interesting thing about the Slave One. Now that Disney owns Star Wars, they don't call it the Slave One. They call it Boba Fett's Starship. Because Slave One is whatever. But then also we built this last week. It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground! Wait.
Yeah, so Lego sent us some money for pushing your merch.
Right.
If you're listening, anybody from Lego,
yes, Switzerland, Lego, who like the guys.
Show.
But yeah, like we're the ones who buy the merch, not the women who like, and not the gays who just want Black Lives Matter represented in their shit. Those people, and I say those people, you people, you people,
them folks,
they, if anything, just do like, because I know Disney is not above this. You know, you put out Aladdin 1, great movie, the original one, the cartoon, right? You put out Aladdin 1, and then Aladdin 2, 3, 4, 5, they all went straight to video, right? Yeah. Like, you never saw them in the theaters. But people bought them in the $5 discount rack at Walmart.
Yeah.
So, dump Captain Marvel in there. Dump Black Panther 2 in there. Dump, Star Wars the gay and the bold or whatever, whatever spin-offs that you want to do with female majority characters or female primarily characters, dump them off in there. Venom 2. Oh, we want to do some LGBTQBRSTLNE stuff? Let's put it on straight to video and dump it in the Walmart $5 bin. That's what I'm saying. Just go straight to video. Don't even advertise it. Don't bring it up. Hire a Tom Hardy lookalike. I know there's a guy who looks just like him. I can never remember his name. But he's in that movie Upgrade. But you've seen him. You know who he is. He's in a lot of movies. He looks just like Tom Hardy. Hire him. He's like the B-list Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy himself is kind of like the B-list Tom Hardy. But do the knockoffs because they don't care. The gays don't care. They'll buy, and the women don't care about this demographic. We do. Don't fuck up Star Wars. Don't fuck up Marvel. Don't fuck up DC. Let us have our nice things and then give them the scraps. Let them feel good about, Venom is a fucking LGBT character or whatever now. You can have some merch that gets sold specifically at Vera Wang's or whatever as like part of a Disney Vera Wang collection or whatever. And it's got, Elton John looking Venom or whatever coming out of the closet with a microphone.
Yeah.
Which I still don't believe that that's an actual scene in the movie. I have yet to see it.
I'm telling you, it really is.
All right. I hate that I have to take you at your word.
For some reason, I imagine that you're going through the bargain bin and there's all these like funny named movies that like have LGBT stuff. And there's like, instead of How to Train Your Dragon, it's like How to Run a Train on Your Dragon.
How to Train Your Fagin. It ends up being like the $5 bargain bin at Walmart ends up just being like just a bunch of gay porn with like funny names for the stuff that we like. A fagin or variations of the word queer or shitting and whatever, all sorts of gay stuff. You know how like the pornos do funny names for their stuff.
Yeah.
But with Disney and Star Wars and Queer Gone Jinn, the spin-off of the Phantom Menace, the Phantom Man-ass, right? That's the sort of stuff that I expect to see in the gay bargain bin at Walmart when Disney implements this plan that I've haphazardly and hastily thrown out on this episode.
So what do you got for us? His royal high five of the Earl of Bugscuffle?
Well, read yours first, and then we'll try to figure out what it is.
The Viscount of Apocalypse Peaks. That's a tough one to say. Yeah. So what is this all about? I thought I knew what we were talking about, but you didn't fill me in on this. We low key did this kind of last minute, as we are wont to do.
Well, as I am wont to do, I'll tell you this: I had told you what we were going to talk about earlier in the week or last week, perhaps. Like I had it planned out a good ways in advance, and because some news came out about these Pandora Papers, right? And I was very excited to talk about the Pandora Papers. I started reading about the Pandora Papers, and I realized there was no way to make that interesting for other people. Like offshore banking and tax havens and that sort of shit is fascinating to me, but the corruption runs deep elsewhere in foreign countries, and I frankly don't give a shit about other countries and their corruption because everybody's corrupt. I want to know about the corruption in our country. So when I was reading the Pandora Papers and I realized that there wasn't a whole lot going on here in our country, and they didn't name anybody in our country, I realized I didn't really give a shit about it, and I certainly couldn't make it interesting to anybody else. So what I did, that was going to be one of the topics because Norm does talk about something in that regard. I won't give it away in case we do end up doing it next week. But there is another thing that he talked about, another conspiracy that he talked about that is in line with this whole His Royal High Five of the Earl of Bugscuffle and His Excellency the Viscount of Apocalypse Peak, which are both actual locations. Bugscuffle is in Tennessee and Apocalypse Peak is in Antarctica. And I think those are really funny names, so I was really excited for you to see them. But they don't have anything to do with that. The whatever his topic was. What do you think we could potentially be talking about with British? And as you say things, I'm going to write them down as potential future topics, unless you get it on the first try. What do you think it is?
What do I think we're talking about?
Yeah.
Like the topic tonight?
Yeah. What do you think we're talking about?
Is that what you're asking me? I don't know. Like something having to do with Meghan Markle and Prince Gay Boy or whatever.
Wow, you are like real close. Do you want to take
Really?
another guess? You are real close, but it's not about that. But it's you are so close. You're like you're warm. You're
Really?
on the verge of
I was
boiling.
like I was like a blind dick in space, just like shooting my load wherever.
I'll
That's what I
tell
was
you,
doing.
I'll tell you, your load just barely missed the International Space Station. Like you just barely missed the mark. So
Oh
just
man.
I'll tell
Okay.
you what, your the figures that you mentioned directly apply to this conspiracy that we're talking about tonight. At least one of the figures.
Oh, is it the Prince Diana's death? Is that what
Mm-hmm,
we're talking about?
mm-hmm,
Princess
mm-hmm.
Diana? Did I get it?
You are correct. Ding 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 ding.
Fucking
The
hey, I'm smarter than you. That's
you
true.
are.
I knew I was.
I've been telling you.
Even though you got all those answers right and knew what Sam Jackson had it with.
These motherfucking snakes. I actually have the hat of Snakes on a Plane. I bought it when that movie had come out. I'm a big
Those
fan of
are-
that movie.
yeah.
But since it was actually, we need to talk about Princess Diana because this is a conspiracy that kind of like people don't necessarily pay attention to or maybe don't
Can,
consider.
can I just go on record and say that she was a real piece? She was
Oh,
like,
so I hate that you say that. I hate that you say that, V, and I'm going to tell you why. Because my goal for tonight was going to be convincing you that Princess Diana was a babe. And that,
I already think that. She was a
well,
hot piece of ass.
I guess we can cancel this episode. I purposely picked hot pictures of Princess Diana. Actually, let me
Yeah.
see here.
But wasn't she a hooer? She was like a total hooer.
Look at this. Look at her. Maybe take the hair,
Yeah.
like because
No,
the hair.
that is like in 80s style, that's a hot haircut.
Yeah.
That's
So that's what I'm saying. Like if
she was
if
at the fore- She was like the Jennifer Aniston of the 80s with her hairstyles.
yeah, look at that.
I don't know about that hat though.
Yeah,
That's
the hat's a
funny.
little much. But what I'm trying to point out to you is like even at her worst, like look at her, she's windburnt, poor girl.
Yeah.
But
I've
she's
seen
still
her I've seen girls that look like her in like Skinamax movies in the 90s.
oh yeah,
You
for
know, like
sure.
that picture of her with the skis. I've seen a ski movie just like that.
Oh,
Not
do you think
skiing.
do you think you could beat off to this picture?
Oh yeah, that one for
Easy.
sure. Yeah.
Too easy, right?
Easy.
I purposely picked the ones
She's
where she
looking
was
right
kind
at
of a
me.
babe. Yeah. She wants
Yeah.
you to do it on her. She wants you to finish on her car. She wants you to finish on her Mercedes.
Oh, too soon.
It's like 20 years, V. Come on,
Yeah.
20 some years. All right. Is anyone saying Princess Di wasn't hot? Is the King of Jordan? No, nobody's saying that. But what I will say, I'm going to say this.
I was
guys.
gonna be like, nah, no, I wouldn't hit that.
Even before
No,
the car
I
went
would
up in
wax
flames.
that ass. Well, not now. That would be necrophilia.
Well, so this was my question. I actually have this written down for you, V. How long after she was dead would you still fuck Princess Diana? Was the question that I had.
Yeah.
And for me, I would say, you know, there's like, it'd be a while. I'd still probably do it
Yeah, I
after a
know.
while.
You have those necro tendencies. Every time you see a dead body,
Necro-tendencies.
well, maybe,
Maybe
Because-
I shouldn't.
really, what's gonna happen? Like, what is, they don't mind. I actually, I think I've said before that if I'm dead, you can do whatever you want with
I
my
recall.
body.
Well, you haven't said it on anything that we've released yet. We're still working on that. But
Oh, yeah.
no. The thing about I walk by the car accident in the tunnel in France, and I see it, and I turn and I say I shouldn't. But here's the thing, V.
You see her body laying in the road, and her dress is like over, like it's like blown up, right? Like she's laying in the road, but the dress is like unfurled, right?
Yeah,
like her
fluttering,
they're
maybe.
showing. So you can see her ass, and like that's what you see. Like, could you imagine being like a photographer and you walk and you're like,
I shouldn't.
I'd at least get a picture of the ass.
Well, you have to, and then you have to release it. You have to sell it for. I don't even know how much a picture of. Okay, in 1997, when Princess Diana, she was the people's princess. Okay,
Yeah,
I don't
right?
know how much a picture of her naked dead ass would have fetched in the tabloid market. It would have been amazing. Like, that amount of money would have been huge. I don't think any of the major porn peddlers, like Playboy, Penthouse, I don't think any of them would have picked it up. But I do think that there would have been some tabloids who would have blurted it out, and it would have paid for it, right? They would have paid full price for the ass pic, the dead ass pic. And but anyways, this week while we were in the Discord, Jacob requested that we bring something back. So for this episode, we are bringing back something special, and I'm going to go ahead and set you up here right now. V, do you know what's happening right now?
Are we doing the?
All right, so that's right. We were actually brought out of retirement to handle this case.
I like that picture because I look like the one that always has like a hunch about something, and then you look like the guy that like doesn't believe anything. You're like, oh, it couldn't be that, and I'm going, I got a hunch every time. I've got a hunch, you know.
And the thing is, you always end up being right with your hunch.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Do you remember, V? Do you know what the official narrative was about Princess Diana's death?
I was alive at the time. It was like 89, I want to say, right?
Incorrect. It was 1997.
Oh, okay. So I was definitely alive. I was in high school.
Yeah.
I was a junior in high school. Wait, sophomore. I was a sophomore in high school. Banging Liz Maldonado, who was 18. She was 18. I was 16. I actually, at 97, I want to say I lost my virginity in 97. 97? No, 96 was when I lost. No, 97. Yeah, because I was 16. So I lost my virginity when Princess Di died. Maybe the same day that she died. Who knows?
I would hope so.
Yeah, maybe the same. Maybe to her dying, I was losing my virginity. It's possible.
It was on in the background. Hold on, Liz.
No. I know. Okay, here's what I know. I know that it was a car accident, and then it was all over the news. That's what I know.
Yeah.
That's the gist of it. But I was like 16, smoking pot and banging my girlfriend and skateboarding, so I wasn't really paying attention to it that much. So it's like not one of those things that I have a significant amount of knowledge, like the Romulan Nebula, as we prior discussed. You know,
which specific.
Which vector will suffer the wrath of the impenetrable quickening and all that.
yeah, all those things. She in fact did die in a car accident.
Right.
It was August 31st, 1997. You are correct in regards to her dying in a car crash. It was in the Pont de l'Alma. Excuse me, my French isn't as.
It was in a tunnel, right?
Yeah, it was in a tunnel in Paris.
Yeah, I knew.
Now the driver was fleeing from paparazzi, and Henry Paul was the name of the driver, and her bodyguard. I actually have a picture of this. I want to show this picture because it's very funny to me.
She had a bodyguard.
Yeah, well, here's the picture. I don't know where this.
Why do you look like that?
I don't know.
Bodyguard. I'm hoping it's not the douchebag with the glasses.
No, he's the driver. That would be Henry Paul. The one on the left, that's her bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones, who has a hyphenated name. So I assume he's from. He married into a wealthy family, I guess, and he took like his wife's last name hyphenated.
Oh yeah, that's gay.
But he survived. So I'd like to see you say that to his face. I'd like to see you tell him he's gay to his face because he's still alive.
I could whoop his ass. I bet I could whoop his ass. I've been working out, dude. I'll tell him right to his face.
And he's gonna make that exact same reaction, like, "Oh, don't hit me." But the driver, he's like loving it. He's having a good old time. This is an actual picture of like as they're leading into the crash. Now let me show you what it looked like. That's
probably why they crashed, because they were taking fucking selfies while it was driving.
They were being a couple of goofballs.
Jesus, that car got mangled.
Yeah, he was really cooking.
British car. It looks like a carriage. What the fuck happened? You can't even tell if that's a car.
Yeah,
Jesus
he really
Christ.
hit the wall. So you see these posts on the right of this picture? They really plowed into one of them, and that's what caused it to do that pinching in the front. You know,
Right.
He was really flying, so I hope that creates a good image for you. Look at this.
Fast is what you're saying. Jesus Christ, that thing got destroyed.
That looks like what's his face's car, JFK Junior's, or I'm sorry,
Yeah.
JFK Regular's car.
JFK regular. No, you know what it looks like? It looks like the Ironmonger took a fist to it, is what happened. Remember that scene when Iron Man and Ironmonger are fighting each other and throwing cars around? That's what it looks like. That's what happened. It was an Iron Man suit that did that car wrong. Probably.
Right, well, case closed, I guess. Are we taking it to the bullpen? Are we taking it to the bullpen already? Here we go.
No, the fact. Give me the facts there.
All right.
Tom.
It didn't switch to the.
What's your name again? What's your name
Please,
again?
call me detective.
Yeah.
Call me detective something or another.
Yeah.
It's not switching. All right, there we go. Apparently her bodyguard survived. Now here's the interesting thing. This all happens in 1997. In 2008, a mere 10 years later, a jury finally found the driver, Henry, who was dead, and the pursuing paparazzi guilty of unlawful killing. A French judge, though, said that the paparazzi were way too far away and they could not be charged with the death. And it was pinned entirely on the dead guy.
Damn.
It was pinned on Henry, poor devil. But this trial, which hilariously took place 10 years after her death.
The guy's dead. What? Why did they pick? What?
I don't know. Just to find some closure, I guess. And this is what I hope we're going to talk about in the next, 40 minutes that we have left.
Okay.
Because we only have 40 minutes to solve this mystery, apparently.
Okay, let's get to it then. Give me the
278 witnesses at this trial. So to me, I was curious, what was the point of it all? Now, they did this whole investigation, right? The Metro PD in England, I don't know, whatever. I assume London or wherever Carnegie. No, not Carnegie Hall. What's the name of the place where all the royalty live? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah, that's where the big fluffy hats, and you can say stuff to them, and they won't do anything.
Well, I don't think that's true.
You could serve, when you serve people, you know how to serve someone.
Tell me.
You do dance moves at them, like a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Can you do one of these? Can you do that? And if they don't move, then they lose.
One of those, right?
Yeah, the sprinkler.
The sprinkler, yeah. Yeah,
What's
you do
the
that.
Running Man? Do you know the Running Man?
No, I can't do. I could do the. Well, you can't see it because my screen is small, but it's like the arm wave, kind of like the robot, but you break off into someone else. It's like pre-breaking,
Yeah,
like
you send it to them.
Yeah, you send it to them. Yeah, exactly. I could do some of that, and that's what you should do. You go up to the Buckingham Palace guard and you send it to him and see if he finishes it out. But if he doesn't, then
then he loses.
I don't think he's supposed to move. Yeah, but
in that case, he's technically served. If I'm remembering correctly,
you serve them. You go up to them and serve them.
Okay, yeah, too easy.
Serve.
Now we know. They did this whole investigation, right? And I forget what it's called, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend I remember or whatever, and I'm not going to look it up and pretend I remember. But they do this whole investigation, this inquiry, and they find that they actually died of a car crash, right? Like as if that was what we were curious about, right?
Yeah.
We wanted to know beyond the obvious what was going on. And there are a lot of different theories. So I'm going to present to you a couple, and you just tell me if you believe it or not. Okay.
Okay. All right.
This is potential. This is our first lead. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
She knew that she was going to be dispatched via a car crash. Okay.
Mhm.
Uncovered evidence that Princess Diana believed that efforts would be made to arrange for her to be involved in a car crash. She expressed concerns in a meeting with her lawyer and secretary in October of 1995, 2 years before. And the attorney made note of what was said in the meeting. As you know, lawyers tend to like take notes of shit like that.
Yeah, no.
Now the
so.
lawyer, he wrote that the Princess of Wales had told him that reliable sources, whom she did not wish to name,
Doesn't it sound like being the Princess of Wales means like you're the princess of fat
you're a
people?
fat person. Yeah, like I would call somebody the Princess of Wales. I would probably call the fatter of the fat group, I would call her the Queen of Wales, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually for those of you who don't know, if you're the Princess of Wales, that means you're Welsh. That's what that means.
Yeah. I didn't know a lot of this. So I'm glad
I only know that because I watch Guy Ritchie movies.
Well, so I didn't know a lot about the structure of like stuff like His Royal High Five, the Earl of Bugscuffle.
Yeah.
Like I had to learn the structure, the rank structure, right?
Oh, yeah.
Of the English world.
Sure.
And
the echelons, right? The echelon.
Yeah, the hierarchy of the high five-archy of it all.
So she knew. So you're telling me she knew she was going to get in a car accident? How did she know this? How did she know?
Well,
like what was her like? She just like had a vision or something, or someone told her. All
I can tell you, V, sir. Let me tell you. When you call people sir because they're like acting, they're acting out, and you got to like calm them down. Sir, what his lawyer wrote, what her lawyer wrote, that the Princess of Wales had told him that reliable sources, whom she did not wish to name, had informed her that by April 1996, whether in an accident in her car, such as a pre-prepared brake failure or by other means, efforts would be made, if not to get rid of her, then at least to see that she was injured or damaged as to be declared unbalanced. The Princess of Wales apparently believed that there was a conspiracy and that both she and Camilla Parker Bowles were to be put aside. Put aside was the term. So this is another way of like saying 86'd or put on ice. Yeah. Put aside is the Princess of Wales way of saying murdered. Right. So that's what the lawyer wrote down. I don't know exactly the context of the discussion. Hey, I'm just operating with what I got here.
Yeah.
You and your hunches.
You were right about Norm talking about this too. I recall it now. I know what he said too. I remember him saying that he said, "Well, didn't the Queen kill her?" That's what he said to Stephen Merchant on one of the episodes.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We're getting to that here in a moment. What do you think of that? Do you have anything to say about any of that?
That makes sense. She didn't like her. We know that. We know that much, right? Yeah. She was like a little hooer. She was this hooer that fucking what's his name? Old Charles, Chuck. Yeah, he picked her up just like off the street. Like that's what was so like that's what people loved about Princess Di, right? Was that like Charles, the fucking Prince of England, just like picked some bitch off the streets and was like, "You're a princess now." Boom. And everybody was like, "Oh, that could happen to me because Cinderella," right? Yeah. That's the whole idea of it, right?
Yeah. I agree. I think that's any girl's dream, right? You live this fairy tale life of being picked up by some weird looking prince from Buckingham Palace. You marry into royalty. You end up being involved in a bunch of extramarital affairs, and then you split up, and after like 5 or 6 years you finally divorce, and then you're murdered in a car accident. That's any girl's dream, as far as I'm concerned. Now here's another theory. She was pregnant and about to announce an engagement, because mind you, at this point in 1997, she was divorced. She and the Prince Charles had divorced. And she was no longer royalty. She had kids, though, that were still in the royal family. I'm sorry, that's not... she was still royalty from her side of the family. So, like, she comes from a line of somewhat royalty. Like, it was, Some people didn't believe that she was actually royalty, but her ancestry proved that somewhere along the way, her ancestors were part of this royal family. But when she divorced, she was no longer part of the royal family. She was still able to live at that apartment. She was still able to utilize the security and all that. She was still able to use buildings or business office within Buckingham Palace, but she was no longer part of the Buckingham's office.
But you said the business office. Isn't that what all offices are?
Well, I don't know. I don't use my office for business.
The offices are for business. I would have.
Sometimes I call my bedroom the business office, just to like really hammer home that I'm having sex there.
Right.
You gotta sometimes you gotta say it. But she was they had divorced. She was still around, but she was no longer part of the royal family.
Doesn't that mean doesn't that mean if she was pregnant, then possibly she would have a son that could be in line for the kingship?
She did.
Right?
She did. She had 2 kids. What's his face? Who married Merkel?
Wait a minute. So those little bastards are her bastards?
Yep, they are indeed.
Shit.
So they are in line for kingship. They're princes or whatever, right?
Those ugly fuckers. How did that beautiful woman spawn those retarded looking ginger ass children?
Because she fucked one of the royal family. Now the royal family is like incest descendants to where they're at now. They're all fucked up and weird. But that's part of that whole incest joke. But she brought in lineage. She was supposed to fix the lineage or whatever. She didn't though, because she created these 2 fucking monkeys. Anyways, but here's the thing about Princess Di that I don't like. She was fucking an Arab. She was fucking a Muslim, right?
Jeez.
This is not her first, right? She was messing around with this one heart surgeon or whatever from Pakistan, and then they split up, and then
those
she
guys
started
their ass with their hands, dude.
Yeah, it's
their
disgusting.
bare hands.
Well, she was fucking this guy named Dodi Al Fayed, right?
Dodi, that's not a fucking name.
It's a real name. Dottie, maybe it's Dottie. I don't know. I don't speak Sandnoid. So she but she this guy Muhammad Al Fayed. The guy's name naturally was Muhammad, right? This is Dottie's dad, Dodi's dad. He was the one who presented all this stuff about there being conspiracies because Dodi died in the car with Princess Di.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and he apparently had knocked up Princess Di, and he had told his dad about the engagement, that they were about to get engaged, that she was pregnant, whatever. And and then she was killed in this car accident. And then apparently he also said that security services found out about all this because they were bugging her phone line. So they found out about this pregnancy and they needed to kill her and Dottie, or Dodi. I'm just going to assume it's Dodi. Dottie, she, her. We need to clarify that it was a he, him. Princess Diana, she was embalmed in order to prevent... Now, here's where... So this Muhammad guy, part of me wants to believe him because he's a conspiracy nut job. And, my heart goes out to conspiracy nut jobs. But at the same time, some of the stuff he says is so outlandish. And, for instance, he said... Well, she was embalmed so that they couldn't run a test on her to see if she was pregnant. And
what?
So, yeah, because I don't know, I've never heard of somebody running a test on a dead person to see if they were pregnant. Maybe they do, but I'm not an embalmist. I'm not a funeral director. I am not somebody who is involved in that process, so I don't know. But I will say that so he says that Princess Diana was embalmed on a direct instruction from the British authorities to disguise her pregnancies, and that the embalming commenced at 2 p.m. on the 31 August, so the same day, in Paris, and the process took some 2.5 hours. Therefore, her repatriation was delayed pending completion of the embalming process. They did that intentionally to make it so that they wouldn't, they couldn't request her body and have it back in time. Based on the circumstances, though, the medical examiner just examined the exterior of her body and not the interior, because they were like, well, she died in a car crash. This isn't like a mysterious death. She died in a car that hit the wall or hit a post going 65 miles an hour or whatever in a tunnel, and she was dead when we got there, and she's all banged up. She looks like she was the victim of a car accident. I'm going to rule it that she died in the car accident because of this. So they naturally wouldn't perform a birth or they wouldn't do a pregnancy test to determine if she was pregnant or not during a routine like examination of somebody who died in a car accident, right? This is that's one of the weird things that people pointed out. What do you think of that? Do you think that there's anything to this Muhammad Al-Fayed guy that maybe he's...
Oh, man. You can't trust a J-Rab, dude. You can't. You can't I mean, I don't know. Arabs. Like, okay, it's a car accident. Like, let's break it down, right? Like, what did the fucking driver go? You know what? I'm gonna kill this bitch and then swerve off the road and kill himself too. Like what? Like, it's not like there was a car that crashed into him and caused them to wreck. They fucking wrecked, right?
Maybe.
So, I mean, I don't know. It seems like there's much more efficient. There's a heart attack gun,
Yeah. This is 1997. We know that the heart attack gun existed back then because they appeared before Congress to talk about it back then.
If the Queen had beef with this bitch, I'm sure she had a better means to get rid of her than to do a car crash. I mean, I don't know.
Car crashes are sloppy.
Yeah.
I would lose a lot of respect for the Queen if she killed a woman with a car crash. But I don't know. I'm also like on the fence because, I'm a conspiracy guy. So like rarely what did we talk about last week? I don't even remember what the word was, but like where you just automatically assume that history you've been lied to and that it's actually far more nefarious.
It was something with phallus in it, right? There was
a fallacy. A fallacious fallacy? Is that what it was?
Yeah, fallacious fallacis. Fallacis.
The other option is that Prince Philip, the recently deceased Prince Philip, the extremely racist but hilarious in his racism Prince Philip, that he wanted her dead because he was Prince Charles's dad, right? And so Prince Charles is still alive. I actually was just looking at pictures of him. I'm like, oh, that's the guy. I remember that guy. I've seen him before. I think he's actually a pervert. I think he's one of the guys that's in trouble with this whole Epstein business. But anyways, I digress.
Right.
Prince Philip wanted her dead. And the reason behind it I can get behind because I know now that Prince Philip was a racist, was like a flaming like really, really racist. Muhammad said that the Duke, these are my notes, right? That the Duke didn't want her to marry and have the children of a Muslim man. Which I'm like, okay, all right, I get that. Because, and this is what Muhammad said. Muhammad said that they didn't want a potential future king of England to have a stepfather who was an Egyptian Muslim, which I'm like, okay.
Yeah, okay.
That's a good point. I can see that.
Because the purity is like a big thing with these folks, right? With this royal family, they have to have like pure lineage or whatever. So that makes sense. And I'm sure the older folks like stick to that, I imagine now they can have LGBTs all up in there if they want to, but I'm sure back then that was the thing. I certainly would agree with that. I certainly would be like, no.
Yeah, why would you want an Egyptian Muslim to be the stepfather of the king? No, thank you.
Might as well marry a turd. That's what you
What do we want, a turd to be the stepfather of the king? Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
A poop emoji?
Yeah. Emoji, yeah. Yeah.
All right. But anyways.
Okay. Yeah.
Philip.
Why?
Philip supposedly wrote Diana a bunch of really angry messages. He wrote her a bunch of hateful messages, some of her hateful letters. Now, here's what they found in the inquiry, right? when they reached out to Prince Philip about these letters, he just didn't answer the question. And so they found those letters to be or that claim to be unsubstantiated. So this is, again, you know, we like to talk about, and I know last week we talked a little bit about how DC Metro lied and the FBI lied. Our intelligence and our law enforcement agencies that are designed to protect the political elite will lie for the political elite. In the same way, we're looking at, is it Scotland Yard that is like the police of like old-timey Buckingham Palace? You know,
with
these are
like Sherlock Holmes and all that.
Right. So like London PD, the Metro PD, all these guys who are, you know, conducting an inquiry about such and such, I'm sure they're absolutely, you know, going to go to bat for the royal family. You know, isn't the song of the nation, or isn't like the national anthem, God Save the Queen? Like, of course they're going to protect the royal family. So when I hear anything that came out of this inquiry that I kind of like read over, anything that comes out of it that defends the royal family, I instinctively just ignore it. Because I'm like, at the least, if it's neutral or negative, I'm inclined to include that in my toolbox.
It's kind of fun to think about that, like what you're talking about. I was thinking, it's kind of funny to think about that there's still a queen, like in Britain. Like, like when you really think about it, like, okay, here we are, 1776, we're like, fuck you. We don't want to be a part of some dumbass monarchy. That shit is gay. And we start our own government and do this fucking democratic shit, right? And over there, 200 and fucking queen. They're still got like a queen, and it's like, who gives a shit? Like, okay, they've got parliament, and they've got chancellor, whatever, Bumquist guy, what's his name, prime minister, right? So it's not really like a queen that can just go off with his head, right? Like they don't do that anymore. They don't do that anymore. But there's still a queen. Like it doesn't even make sense. Like why? Like what the fuck? Who gives a shit, right? So what purpose does that even serve at this point when they're supposedly like democratic too? Like what the fuck, Britain? Why do you have a queen still? You guys are gay, dude. You guys are gay. Right?
Shame on you. Yeah, shame on all of you. Let's just shit all over the British Empire. Because, and I hear you. Because as far as I understand it, the queen is a figurehead. She really holds no power.
Yeah.
Except, like, I almost see her as, because recently she actually came out and directed the prime minister to do something, but I think it was largely theater. So again, I would have to do some research on the matter, but she is technically the queen of Australia, of England, of Scotland, of Ireland, of like all these countries, right? Canada, I think, is even like a UK, or I'm sorry, a British empire or a British colony, right? You know, I think that's why they have a prime minister rather than a president, right? So I don't, and to me, like, I know there are a lot of, you know, Brits who are like, God save the Queen. And frankly, I'm like, fuck our president, period. Yeah. I don't care who our president is. Yeah, fuck that guy. Yeah. Like, I do not respect any figurehead. I do not respect any politician who is put in power over me. I don't respect it. I saw a t-shirt the other day that said, I'm not questioning your authority, I'm outright denying its existence. And that's how I feel now about our government. It's not that I'm questioning your authority or the authority of the government. I am just outright denying that it exists, that your authority exists. And you've got the British who they still like hold the Queen to this high position, even though we, the world, recognize, the fucking Queen is a figurehead. Like, they've admitted that the Queen is a figurehead. She is no more than a statue that commemorates times past prior to democracy. And it's almost like how we revere our flag, right? We revere the American flag as something to be cherished, old glory, like we believe in what it stands for. And the Queen, she just stands for something. And people like that, and they have not given that up. And
Yeah.
whatever, I don't know. So the Queen, whatever, she represents this royal family, this history, and again, I can respect the fact that history, you know, the UK is steeped in history. Like, there is a lot of history there, and dating back in that ancestry, that dynasty, I think that's pretty cool, like, from a thing to read about standpoint. But as far as, like, it matters in the world today, it just doesn't.
So what is your, okay, since we're running out of time, what is your, give me, I want to know your theory.
Right.
I want to know what it is you think really happened here.
I think, well, here, I've got two that these two last ones, okay?
All right.
Well, Prince Charles also tried to have her killed so that she could, or so that he could fuck the nanny, the kid's nanny.
Yeah.
That's one of them. That's one thing that was said. Actually, Princess Diana left a letter that her butler produced later that said, "This particular phase of my life is the most dangerous. My husband is planning an accident in my car, brake failure, or serious head injury in order to make a path clear for Charles to marry Tiggy." Tiggy was the name of the nanny.
Tiggy, that's a dope name for a nanny.
Everybody's got some silly names here. So, Prince Charles, when asked, denied that he had any desire to marry Tiggy. Okay, so that is part of this whole inquiry again. So I'm inclined to believe that it's bullshit. Now here's an interesting one. Before I give you what I think happened, before we take it to the bullpen.
Okay.
Here's one, a theory that came up in actually like 2013. It came up, or something like somewhat recently, like within the last decade. The SAS, so the British Special Forces, actually killed Princess Diana. It was their mission to kill Princess Diana. And how they went about this was two soldiers had to go in to the tunnel. They were at the far end of the tunnel, and they shined this super bright flashlight, or a torch, as the Brits call it. They shined this gigantic flashlight and blinded the driver, which, let me see if I can pull up that picture again. Because, look, see, here they are getting blinded by the SAS.
That's the face I would make if I was getting blinded.
Yeah. And even Princess Di in the back, she's got her, Lady Di, she's got her head turned away because it's too fucking bright. So, anyways. Clearly. The SAS did it was one theory, and this came from in like 2000. Gosh, I wish I would have written down the dates. I wish I would have done a better job, is what I always tell myself. I wish I would have done a better job in hindsight. These two soldiers recently in England were being investigated for a weapons charge. They had a weapons possession, like a gun possession, some kind of firearm possession. And they were being investigated, and they had to send, and you know how this works, right? When they do a Article 15, you have to send in character references, right? Some of these people were sending in character references. Family members were consulted and asked to provide character references. The mother-in-law of one of these soldiers, just named Soldier N, was the name that they used for this report. Soldier N, his mother-in-law sang like a fucking songbird. She just said everything. And one of the things that she said was that these soldiers, the SAS soldiers, were involved in the murder of Princess Diana, that they were told to go and shine this super bright flashlight, which I hope, I don't know the fate of this soldier, right? I don't know if he got in trouble.
Could you imagine the room where they're telling each other to do that? I know how we'll get her. You shine a flashlight in his face, and he'll be distracted, and he'll just crash. It'll look like an accident, dude. It'll look like Trust me on this one, bro.
Believe me, I've done it before, all right? You think Abraham Lincoln was an accident? Just some absurd thing that has nothing to do. Yeah. No, how I imagine is they're all sitting around in the room. They're like, how do we do it? And there's one guy who's playing with one of those handheld flashlights, and he's just like, and then another dude across the room is like, I got it. A giant fucking flashlight, and we'll shine it in the face. And everyone's like, and for whatever reason, everyone's like, oh, that's a great idea. But then there's the one naysayer who's like, no one will believe it. And then that dude ended up getting kicked out of the group because he was too much of a negative Nancy, a negative Tiggy. But that's the whole thing, is like, what I was saying is like, this chick, I hope that like her testimony against this soldier was like stacked up against that. You know what I'm saying? Like she was like, well, she made some really good points about how he was untrustworthy and like he had mentioned that he had weapons and shit. But then also he said something over here about how they shined this gigantic flashlight and blinded Princess Di's driver, and they didn't say anything for 20 years. So what do we do with this? Like, do we take it seriously, or do we have to throw it all out, or do we have to like believe that she's in some ways trustworthy, or what? I don't know. But
she was a hooer. She was a hooer.
She was a hooer. Good night, Mike, in the chat. I see you there saying good night. We missed a couple of them because we've been trying to burn through some of this. Now, the last one, this is what I think happened. We'll take it to the bullpen.
All right.
I've prepared a bullpen. We've been transferred. Nice. Yeah, we were actually transferred to a bullpen or a police department that's...
It's like a major crimes unit is what it looks like. MCU or MC... Yeah, MCU.
The Marvel Cinematic Unit.
We got Jim Gordon as the, commissioner. So what do you got there, Detective Tom? Detective Tiggy.
Detective Tiggy Miller. The CIA did it.
What? How? And why?
Now, here's my theory. You have to hear me out. It's a bit of a stretch, okay? Muhammad, he said that the CIA... So, and I hate that my...
Muhammad, are we talking about that duty guy or whatever?
His dad is the one who was like presented all this evidence.
When you kept saying Muhammad, I thought you were talking about the Prophet Muhammad for the whole time.
No, and you have to say peace be upon him. I need you to, like, whenever you say Muhammad's name, you have to say peace be upon him when referring to the Prophet Muhammad.
Isn't there already peace upon him though, because he's dead or whatever?
Well, he's not dead. He's ascended into the 72 Virgins heaven. I think. Right. I don't know. I've never read the Quran. The Holy Quran, peace be upon it. Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that CIA and NSA in the United States closely intercepted and monitored Diana's phone calls, and they would have been aware that she intended to announce publicly her engagement to Dodi on Monday, September 1st, 1997. So this was like happening the next day. The CIA and NSA possessed 39 documents consisting of 1,054 pages which relate in part to transcripts of telephone calls made by Princess Diana whilst she was with my son. This is Muhammad, peace be upon him, is a quote from him. Now, the inquiry or the investigation found that the U.S. intelligence did have 39 documents related to Diana. I don't know why. Like, that's kind of weird. But they didn't have anything to do with the death or the fiery crash. But this doesn't really refute anything that Muhammad, peace be upon him, said. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when they say, so this investigation, again, now we can't trust the investigation because we've already pointed out that Scotland Yard or London Metro or whoever conducted this investigation was in the pocket of the Queen. The Queen, of course, had some interest in preserving her her husband at that point, who wanted her dead, and also her son, who had recently divorced her and just would like to get her out of the picture, right? So the Queen, we can't necessarily trust the investigation to be of the utmost sincerity and truth. And it didn't even really refute anything that Muhammad said, because he said, hey, they've got 39 documents. The investigation found that they did have 39 documents. They just didn't have anything to do with her death or the crash. Why would they? Because these are documents that existed prior to her death or the crash. So at this point, I'm kind of like siding with Muhammad, peace be upon him, regarding his conspiracies. Now, Tom Crispell, he was a spokesman for the CIA in 1998 when this conspiracy theory was floating. Tom Crispell, he actually came out and said, and I quote, "The assertion that the CIA played any role in the death of Princess Diana is ludicrous." Now, because he said that, I'm less inclined to believe that the CIA had nothing to do with the death of Princess Diana. Because why would he even have to bring it up in that way, in that capacity? Why wouldn't he just be like, he said, what? How? That is ludicrous. But the fact that he had to come out and make an official statement saying, no, the CIA had nothing to do with her death, like, rather than laughing it off, that to me is pretty suspicious. And especially since that's like, we've known the CIA to lie and say that exact thing prior to being caught in the lie. Anyways, so then the inquiry found over the course of the investigation that the SIS, or the MI6, and the security service in London, Operation Paget, that was actually the name of the investigation, Operation Paget, was satisfied that there was no evidence that communications relating to the events in Paris have been received from any American agency. There is no evidence to support that the claim of concealment or relevant materials. Now here's where I can explain it. There was a... Now, I'm going to sound like a crazy person. Now, listen. Now, there was actually a white Fiat Uno that crashed into the car, and they were able to scrape the paint sample off of the Mercedes that Princess Di was in from this white Fiat Uno. This white Fiat Uno, nobody saw it in the tunnel, but they saw it leaving the tunnel, I guess on video, or witnesses that came forward and talked about it. But they had a hard time tracking down this white Fiat Uno. When they finally found it, it turns out that it was a photojournalist who, Mohammed, peace be upon him, believed and could prove that he had ties to MI6. He was a spook, that he was involved, kind of like in the same way that we have our CIA. They did their Project Mockingbird, where they were able to put people into the
press.
The press or whatever. They did the same thing over in England, and this guy was one of them. His only alibi was that his wife said that he was in bed with him at the time. And do you know what happened to that guy? I'll tell you his name. It was actually Jean-Paul James Addison. Do you know what happened to Jean-Paul James Addison?
Did he die mysteriously? Did he die?
Guess how he died.
How did he die? Was it a heart attack gun?
No. What's the only other option? What is the other thing that happens?
A car crash? Did he die in a car crash?
He supposedly died of committing suicide.
Oh, he committed suicide.
Yeah, a couple years later. But yeah, his was the only Fiat that they were able to find. Case closed. That's my opinion, Chief. What do you think? Where do you land on this whole Princess Diana thing? Maybe
I don't know.
You don't believe in mine, but where are you at?
All the information that you gave me, you know what I think? I'll say this. I think it was just a car accident. I think it was just a car accident that just like the guy was a shitty driver. You know, he looked like an idiot. When you look at the driver in that picture, he looked like a fucking retard. So clearly this guy, first of all, needs glasses to see.
He's got glasses.
Yeah, it's exactly to see. He's opening his eyes very wide so that he could drive. Second of all, you know, if there was foul play afoot, I'm going with the Muhammad. I think he might have been behind something. I don't know. You can never trust a Habib. You know, maybe he was pissed that she was sullying his line. You know, that's my theory. It may not have any salt. There may not be.
It was reverse racism at play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Man, I don't know. Could have been the Queen. I'm sure the Queen had a hand if it was. I don't know. Maybe they were all working together. I mean, when you're that famous and popular, you've got enemies, you know, and she was a hooer. We knew she was a hooer. So she was probably, you know, banging somebody that got her, you know, damn, that dude is like the crypt keeper.
This is Prince Philip. So this is the guy who ordered the hit, in my theory.
He brings a new meaning to the term crusty, doesn't he?
Look at this guy. This is a guy who I think is capable of murder, ordering murder, right?
He looks like that dude looks like he's been dead. Looks like
he is now.
Yeah.
Officially.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a stretch, you know, but yeah, wow. Is that a picture of him at his death?
No, he actually lived another year after this picture was taken.
What the fuck is wrong with his eyes, dude? Somebody socked that dude or what? Jesus. No, I don't know. I'm not. It's not paranormal, dude. It's not paranormal. Dude. It's just fucking a car crash, I think. You know.
All right.
That's what she got. She got what she got, man. You know, some of us we go get, and she got, and that's what happened. She got.
Some of us we go get and she got. I like that.
Yeah, she got. That's all there is to it. So should I
Yeah, shill or whatever.
Thank you as always, guys, for coming out. We love you 100%, 1,000 times. Get in the Discord, chat with us. We love to talk to you guys. At us in there, we'll talk, chat. If you got questions, feel free to hit us up. I do literally nothing all day. I play video games, watch movies, take about 15 minutes to whack off and do my exercise. And I've got all the time in the world to chat with you guys, so feel free to message me. Tom doesn't have the time that I have. I'm sure he has to schedule his whacking off. But he'll talk to you too, as long as you add us and get in the chat and whatever. We have a Redbubble, so if you really want to support us, go buy some of our merch. We've got some cool shirts on there. I think that's it. That's good, right? Is that good?
Yeah, I don't know. That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to contribute in that way. I like how last week or whatever it was, I was doing my Hebrew homework. I'm learning. I don't like to say this out loud because all of our white supremacy fans will get upset with me if I tell them that I'm learning Hebrew.
Yeah.
Like ancient Hebrew of the Jewish Old Testament. And but I was doing my Hebrew homework and somebody asked a question of me and V said, "I think Tom's doing homework. What's up? What do you got for me?" He, like, redirected the question to him so that I could continue to do my homework. Yeah, I do. I'm on my final year of school. I will be done next summer, and you guys will have been along for the entire journey. I will have finished my 3-year-long master degree, 96 semester hours worth of school. But yeah, like V said, the t-shirts or whatever, we haven't sold a t-shirt in a hot minute, but I also haven't been creating new t-shirts. So if you have ideas, here's something for you. If you have an idea for a t-shirt, something that you would like an episode that you really enjoy, let me know, and I can make a t-shirt off of that. V and I will discuss a thing.
That guy made of us,
that's a really good one.
That would be a really good shirt, huh?
Yeah, I like that one. There was a good meme that somebody made in the chat, Juggalo Joe Jones, or whatever his name was. But yeah, if you have something...
Juggalo that I'm okay with. I hate Juggalos, but that dude's pretty...
That's why I was waiting to tell you about it.
I've had legendary rivals with Juggalos.
Here's the thing. Here's something else for you. If you're listening now and you are a member of the Discord, hop on the episodes channel. If you scroll down and it shows where you can watch and shit, and it shows the episodes, the hashtag episodes or whatever, go in there and leave a one of the little emojis under one of the episodes that you like the best, and whichever episodes that I see are the most popular, maybe I'll start making t-shirts based off of that, or I'll make designs based off of that. Let us know who you, or like what sort of stuff you want on a t-shirt, and we'll hash something out, and we'll figure something out, and we'll create content based off of what you guys want. Furthermore, if you have anything that you want to talk about or any kind of episodes that you want to do, remember that we've done series in the past with like Mike in Manitoba, the M-Files. We've done the J-Cube series. If you've got controversies, conspiracies, weird things that you want to learn more about and you want to hear from us or hear our perspectives on them, let us know, and we might do a series about you. Until then, we will see you next week.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Okay, I gotta run to the bathroom.